Want strict work hours? Okay, can do. I used to work in a mid-sized company in the engineering department. One of the managers started to get upset because if he walked around at exactly 8:30, our start time, everyone was not in their seats. He felt that engineers were being too lax with their time. The edict went out that all engineers had to be in their seats exactly at start time. I told my boss that I was not planning on complying because I was a salaried professional and expected to be treated as such, and that if they didn't trust me to put in an honest week's work, then they should fire me instead of micromanage me. The older, and much wiser, engineers took a different approach. They all showed up 5 minutes early to make sure they were in their seats at 8:30. But also set an alarm for 5 p.m. and would literally drop everything they were doing exactly at 5 p.m. and leave the building. Is the manager having a meeting that was supposed to end at 5 but is running a little late? No. At 5 p.m. a series of alarms would go off and everyone would stand up in the middle of the meeting to leave. Does operations need technical support at 4:55? They have exactly 5 minutes on the phone with the engineer before he will have to get off the phone. Is someone trying to discuss a work-related issue at 8:28? Better wait a couple minutes because no one in the engineering department is answering work-related questions for another 2 minutes. Needless to say, the policy didn't last very long. Group malicious compliance is the best type of compliance. Leave it to engineers to make upper management regret asking to work to the book. This is the kind of malicious compliance I am here for. As an engineer, I love this. We have a time slot where we more or less need to be available 9 o'clock to 1600. But you don't have to be in your seat at 9 o'clock. Just make sure to be able to call into the first meeting or be available for calls. Rest is up you have you spend your time. Just make sure it's 8 working hours. I did the same thing. Boss would complain if you weren't there at 8 a.m. on the dot. Never mind that you had worked half the night on a server issue or something like that. Work hours are from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Okay, boss. You got it. I worked the stated hours exactly. Want me to come in early or stay late for something? Work hours are from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., was my answer. It didn't take long for that stance to be abandoned. I worked at a large computer HW company during Y2K. If you were around then, you may recall there was a lot of concern about it. Blackouts. Nukes. Which didn't end up that way, thanks to a lot of IT folks. Anyway, our lead engineering manager at our facility decided that everyone had to be on call 24 hours for the entire weekend. I was on fry. We had about 100 employees. We were all grumbling until someone pointed out the corporate policy. Double time pay even for exempts. They quickly rescinded the on-call and only had a couple of engineers on standby. No customer issues reported. In my first IT job, we had to clock in and clock out using a phone app. We also had to register our lunches using it. One of our team got pulled up for being 30 seconds late after a lunch break. So the entire team stuck to their hours and not a second over. It was a 24/7 service desk, with alternating 12-hour shifts. Usually when a shift ended, they would stay till the new shift came in, even if they were late. They would also stay to do a verbal handover. They would stay if they were on a call. Once we all decided to do this. No shift overlapped. When it hit 8 p.m. and the next shift wasn't in, we left a post-it note on their desk as the handover. If we were IA call, we would just put it on hold. I don't know what happened as I had already handed in my notice a couple weeks prior. But that was a fun last week. I used to work for one of the big insurance companies. In the big main office. Their bells at 8 o'clock to announce start time. A bell at 5 minutes before the end of lunch break to remind people to get back to their desks. And a bell at 4:30 to go home. Needless to say, no one started work a minute early or stayed a minute late. In fact, they'd start packing up at 4 o'clock so they wouldn't be late getting off. Very strict dress code, even though it was a secure building and few outsiders came in. In the small satellite office, no bells and a very casual dress code. Surprise! People usually started working a few minutes early, and if I was in the middle of something, 4:30 came and went. And management was shocked at the turnover at the main office and the good retention rate at the satellite office. My first job. 1973. I punched a clock. I was always 10 minutes early. I was 18. The plant manager instituted a rule that if you were 1 minute late, where you are normally docked for 15 minutes, you will also have your hourly wage docked 20 cents an hour for the week. He would wait at the clock in the morning. I would come in 10 minutes early and at 7 o'clock, starting time, wait for the clock to say 7:01 before punching in. He pitched a fit. He started yelling at me. I just smiled and said I paid for the pleasure. I did this for a month. They dropped the policy after 2 months. He couldn't take the stress of watching me. Years later I worked at another company. I was a white-collar worker by then. At a town hall meeting, the same guy came up to me and my direct boss and proceeded to tell my current boss that I had long hair when I was young. I just smiled at my old boss and told him, who was now bald, that at least I still had hair. I thought my current boss was going to wet his pants with laughter. Hey, my neighbor worked in an engineering company. And I remember him telling me long ago that they had a CEO who went off in an all-employee meeting about how empty the parking lot was at 4 o'clock, implying that hardly anyone is putting in a full day's work. The CEO didn't come in until 8:30, when almost the entire engineering team started at 7, many even earlier than that, to avoid the worst of the traffic. As the CEO wrapped up his tirade, one of the old-timers who was on the cusp of retirement, with nothing to lose, asked the CEO if he was aware of how many cars were in the parking lot at 7 a.m. And if he was curious, he could ask the facilities team to show him the security camera recordings. Of course, everyone knew the CEO had never seen the parking lot at 7 a.m. That prompted a quick topic change in the meeting, and the last time the CEO mentioned it. It's hard to get engineers to agree on one thing, but once they do, this kind of shit can get done. I see from your story you acquired wisdom from the elders. Back in the mid-20s, once I had an office manager told me that she didn't like the fact that the IT department staffs didn't really come in until 10 a.m. and that all staffs should be in the office by 8 a.m. As a member of the IT department, I responded with, I will gladly come in and work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But don't expect me to work weekend nor after hours if that happens. With a smile. Then I asked her, can you imagine no IT staffs working in the after-hour weekend? Of course, being in IT, I was at the data center during after-hour weekend here and there, while also doing a lot of infrastructure-related work after normal business hours weekend. At my job, it's pretty usual that I end up working until late. So I thought it would be logical to come in later too, so it would be fair. Fast forward to the last day before my vacation. My bosses sat me down and said that they were sad about me coming in late. They said it looked like I didn't like my job and all that. But when I stayed until late, they saw it as, oh, she's putting effort into the company. Love that. You know what? I'm gonna do that too. Want me to be at the office at 8 a.m.? Okay. But I'm leaving for lunch at 12 and leaving work at 6 p.m. Let's see how much time it's gonna take until they say something. We had a guy come in and start a strict no working from home policy. Guess what didn't happen anymore? Servers were down all night, forcing them to hire overnight support. All I usually had to do was simply kick the server and it was fine. I had that automated to just run from a simple terminal command. Glad they figured that was worth hiring an entire support team for. Talk about stupid. Something very similar happened at my workplace, and also management stopped the practice of trying to be strict with hours. I once had a supervisor stand by me at the time clock. I was about 7 minutes early, so I was just waiting to clock in. She started telling me everything she wanted me to do once I clock in. Go do this. After that, go do that. She talked the entire time I stood there. The moment I clocked in, I turned to her and said, "I'm sorry. Did you say something?" I made her repeat the entire thing to me. If I'm not getting paid, I'm not listening to that noise. Awesome. How did the manager react when people started taking the work hours literally? I worked in the software engineering department of an engineering company. The department manager said he was proud of the fact that when he looked around at 6 p.m. the only people still working were software engineers. Didn't tell him these were the people who rolled in at 10 a.m. Lol. I love it when people underestimate other people's level of pettiness.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.